Welcome back. So I managed to get the GI tract out of the small bucket, and as you can tell, this has been dramatically shrunken in its preserved state. Also, pardon my eyes as we do this, as the formalin is intense. So you can kind of see it's just a mass of tissue at the moment. I went through to try and orient a little bit. We were able to remove the kidneys that were stuck in this area here. We removed them and put them over here, the adrenal gland, which is very closely related. We're going to keep these for later to try and dissect for the genitourinary section, okay? So if we look through the structure here, I've tried to kind of put it together. I think it's going to be much more helpful when we watch the video of the fresh dissection for you to really see what's going on. But we can kind of look in the tissues, cut little pieces out, and see what we see, okay? So this is the end of the horse. Here's the rectum. So this is all going to be descending and transverse colon here, okay? So as we know, the small colon is going to be where the majority of the water is absorbed in the horse. This is all going to be fecal balls because once the water is absorbed, it goes from being sort of a mushy, watery substance to nice formed piles of manure. Coming over here, this structure dramatically smushed is going to be the spleen, all right? The spleen's going to reside on the left side of the horse. Kara and I tried to go through and shift it all around, but because of what we call the root of the mesentery, where all of the intestines come off, you can't really untwist it. So remembering the cranial mesenteric artery is going to be in here, and all this thin film is called the mesentery. The mesentery is going to hold, as you can see the thin film with the vessels running through, and here is the jejunum, all right? So all of this thin film is the mesentery, and it's going to just support the small intestine. So I'm going to cut the spleen off so that we can kind of see what's going on, hopefully. Don't worry, I'm going to give these scissors a nice cleaning when we're done. So we're going to move the spleen. Remember, the spleen is a storage area for red blood cells, so when the horse is running, the spleen can contract and release all the red blood cells. All right, so let's start with the stomach. Here is this leathery stomach here. This is going to be our esophagus entering into the stomach. It's going to enter into the cardia. Let me see if I can cut some of this without destroying it. I may still destroy it. Okay. So entering here, they have it opened up for us. I'm going to open it some more. Scissors just make it easier. Okay. So you can see the different lining of the stomach here. You can see the glandular and non-glandular portion of the stomach. So the esophagus is entering into the stomach here, entering into the non-glandular portion of the stomach, and the glandular portion of the stomach is here. You can see the difference. This lining is known as the margo plicatus. All right, the margo plicatus is the separation between non-glandular and glandular. This horse actually has some lumps in here, and yes, there are rugae or folds, but this is probably associated more so with parasitism, a parasite, depending on which one it is, inside the stomach of the horse. Okay, so you can see that lining pretty well. Exiting the horse's stomach over here, this is the pylorus. All right, so we've reached the pylorus. The pylorus is going to enter into the duodenum. The duodenum is going to then come around here. Keep going, and then you enter into the jejunum. This is the mass of jejunum, okay? The jejunum, we said, was not very well adhered to the body wall. It's all suspended in this mesentery, okay? The jejunum, the small intestine itself, is going to go on for about 70 feet. The jejunum is then going to end in the ileum. The ileum is much smaller, narrower part of the small intestine that's then going to empty into the cecum, the blind sac, right? Here's the cecum, the blind sac. The cecum is then going to exit into the large intestine, the large colon, okay? Cecum's on the right side of the body, all right? We're gonna exit into the right ventral colon, go across the front to the sternal flexure, down the back into the left ventral colon, flip up the pelvic flexure into the left dorsal colon, forward to the diaphragmatic flexure, into the right dorsal colon, into the transverse colon, descending colon, okay? So this whole structure here is all of that massive colon, okay? This huge, massive section. It's all been shrunken down, so you can't see much. What you can see is the pelvic flexure, where it goes from left ventral, this big, wide area is left ventral, and then all of a sudden it goes into this small, narrow colon. That's how we know we're in the pelvic flexure, because it's going to go from big, thick, and wide to small and narrow, which is where we see a lot of impactions. All right? So that, I think, unfortunately, is really all that we can get out of this structure here, and I think that live dissection is going to be a lot more helpful.